So welcome back to Let's Talk About That. We have Levon Johnson. How you doing, Levon?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
So you're with the Chamber. What do you do at the Chamber?
I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Elkhart Chamber of Commerce.
For most of you, you've heard about the Chamber, but what does the Chamber actually do?
Well, I would tell you that if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber. Chambers do all sorts of different things, and they meet the needs of their community. The bottom line is we are a business support organization. We operate on the premise that the foundation for a vibrant community is a strong and functional business community. Yep.
So if you're looking at the community, what are some of like the initiatives that you look to instill within the community?
Well, I would say less on the instill side of things. So we look at the community and look at community needs, things that are both challenges and things that are needed to support what's happening in the community. And again, the basis for the work really is around supporting business. But at the end of the day, it's all about community building.
Right. Yeah.
We all travel to different places and see cities and towns that don't have a strong business foundation. And they really are not vibrant communities. They are communities that are losing population, so they're losing their density. They're concerned about the future functioning of those towns. And again, as we travel, we see towns that literally are just dead.
Extinct. Like total extinct.
They're going quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our goal and our work is to make sure that the greater Elkhart area doesn't experience that. We happen to be part of a great region.
Yes.
There's a lot of change happening right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a lot of focus on, quite honestly, it's quality of place initiatives. We realize now that, the old model for economic development was put the business there and people will come. And it's almost the exact opposite right now. It's like get the people here and the businesses are going to follow. So
Right.
And we were just talking about that earlier with how businesses are hybrid. Now they're kind of choosing how they function like outside of the walls, you know?
Right.
And like, so that's kind of like how we are here. We're a little bit hybrid. There's some of our initiatives are like, we're trying to be a part of the community, but then we also have stuff that's like outside of the community as well. But I think our external group is still local here. They still feel like they're a part of this community because that's part of our initiatives, right? So because we're based here, so they're based here. They just work remote. So what would you say as you're looking at how closely the chamber is aligned with the city's initiative? Is that one together, or how does that work?
Well, we want to make sure we align and make sure we're supportive. We want to make sure that we are advocating for business with the city. Again, we're not a city entity.
Right.
And so there are places where we're aligned, and honestly, there's places at times where we butt heads.
Right.
Bound to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. And, they've, the city and the personnel there, they've got a responsibility and look at a broader picture. Whereas from a chamber perspective, although it's community building, like we got to protect business and understand that we want to have a great business environment.
Right.
When we realize that the Elkhart County itself is about 10% of the state's GDP, so the state cares what happens in Elkhart County, and it's business driven. And so Indiana is one of the top states in the country to do business, and Elkhart's one of the top areas in the state to do business. So that puts us.
And I don't think a lot of people know that the chamber is not an actual part of the city.
Yes, that's what I wanted to kind of convey that. Yeah. And I mean, that's important to really kind of look at it in that perspective because our local businesses, I don't believe people realize how important that is for like the growth and how we keep, like that's where all the jobs are. I mean, that's where all the diversity and the community, the culture, everything is baked into those businesses. So, there's some of the big box companies, the franchises, they're here, they're a part of the community, but your local shops, all of the entrepreneurs and the growth, the innovators, everything that happens within the city starts like here.
Those big boxes don't necessarily keep money in our city.
So that's one of those areas that
it's a little gray.
we have this conversation often when we talk about locally owned. Well, there's a lot of ways to get to own your own business, and when we think about some of the restaurants as an example, we've got great locally owned, the name is unique to this space. The menu is unique to the space. But the reality is the franchise restaurants as well are owned by people that live here.
Yeah, live here too, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Right.
Yeah, so
well, and it's just a model, it's they're still serving the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that, and I think that a lot of times we kind of look at it as some of the local communities, like the local restaurants. Sometimes they are some of the entrepreneurs. They started here, or they're passed down, through the family or localities. But I mean, in the same light, we're all kind of working towards the same, goals.
We are. I think the point that you hit, and I'd rather it be restaurants or whether it be an RV industry or food processing or whatever is happening here in this area, the piece that is uniquely local is on the innovation side.
Right.
It's the innovation that takes place at the local levels. When we get into some of the bigger box stores, somebody is innovating, but it's not here necessarily.
Right.
Whereas those locally owned places that innovation is taking place here. It's growing here.
It's based on here.
Based on here.
What you can do here. And even, as we were talking earlier, even though you have employees that are not in the area, your home base is here. And so the innovation is baked into here. And that plays out in a number of different ways, especially when we talk about the things that make Elkhart County unique. And one of those main things is philanthropy, a level of philanthropy in this area. We could do doctoral classes on how to do entrepreneurship in philanthropy.
Right.
But you've got to have that base of people here that keep their money here,
right.
invest here in things that are philanthropic.
Well, and a lot of the ideas are inspired by here. So the things that we do, especially when I mentioned we're in healthcare, but also transportation, us being a hub in this space, there's a lot of manufacturing. Yep. And uniquely, the transportation is a component of that because it has to go somewhere. Whether and a lot of the transporters and some of the companies in this area, even though they operate remotely or they are still based here, right. They're from the site. So that's why we have been blessed with the opportunities to interact with some of these places. People don't really know what is around in this area. Even we even work with research and development, so that's here. That's here, right here in Elkhart. People don't realize everything. It's like a melting pot of different types of innovation. And
people don't realize how much is actually here.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of hidden there's a lot of hidden main businesses that people just don't get the spotlight because it's not a retail, it's not a Walmart or
right.
And that's some of the work that you're doing right now in your outreach in the area and the work of the chamber is how do you continue to market and get that information out there. And a lot of times it's interesting. Call it Midwestern values, Hoosier, whatever it is, Hoosier humility.
Yeah.
Sometimes getting people to talk about their business is difficult to do. They're like, let me do the work. I'm just doing the work, and we're getting done. And they don't want to talk about the business, so it stays a hidden gem.
And that's why we take them out of that and say, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about who you are, what you do, because a lot of the time, those entrepreneurs, those business owners, they're behind the scenes. Yeah. They're doing the work, and they're in the dark. And this is the opportunity to bring them into the light, for them to talk about their story, And
they all have a story.
And they all have a story.
Yeah.
And that's what's so awesome about it is we learn through them and the stories that they had. I mean, it was just last week with...
we had Erica from Graze by Erica.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And we learned so much about her business and how she started. The networking opportunities that she's had and how many similar connections we may already have.
Absolutely.
But we're still disconnected in some ways. So that's why this show's really a vehicle that can to really help connect the dots in some of the places. And even members that maybe are not a part of the chamber, we want to kind of inspire them to say hey, become a part of the community as well.
Bring back the whole business to business.
Yeah, the business to business network marketing. That is one of the components a lot of small businesses don't utilize is continuing to grow their network. So, and that's something the chamber does. So talk a little bit about that. What type of networking opportunities?
Yep. So, we move on 3 foundational pieces. So one is education and training. So just about everything that we do or we bring folks together has an educational component to it. There's only 2 events, and we do 66 to 70 events every year.
Oh, wow.
Only 2 of those have 0 educational component to it. But they expose people to different businesses that are out there.
So there's still some sort of
there's the heavy marketing piece and
the prayer breakfast. That was that was a really good event.
So I'll give you the 2 that don't have the educational component to it. So it would be our golf outing.
Yeah. Okay. Which that's good networking.
But it's amazing networking.
Yeah, amazing.
And
great time.
Advertising the people that sponsor and sponsor the holes, advertising for them. And then the other one, we have an event in November called My Chamber's Favorite Things, which is put on by Women's Council.
Okay.
And so our members give gifts that are then given out to the people that attend. But then there's a commercial about for every gift, there's a commercial about the company that provided the gift.
Oh,
that's cool.
But it's just a fun. It's a fun event, well attended event. So you've got the education and training, the advocacy piece. So as we are working with local, state, and federal government on issues that are again challenges or supports for growing business in this area, we want to make sure we're advocating on behalf of businesses in those spaces. And the third then is that networking piece.
Yeah, and it's big.
And it's making sure that whether you are a large, Fortune 300 company or you are just a one-person company, we try to make sure that networking is there for you, because one of the biggest challenges for entrepreneurs that are starting small is, I'd love to come network,
but I don't have time. I've got to work.
Right.
I can't net. I have to work.
We all know that way too well.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, so what would you say, kind of stepping out of that space, say let's talk to entrepreneurs out there, and small businesses, and what would you give them advice to tell them they're stuck in that rut and they're struggling? What would you say the most important thing they can do for their marketing side of that?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things that factor into that with especially small businesses that don't have a team around them.
Right.
I think most entrepreneurs are very good at what they do. It's the business side of stuff that gets in the way.
Amen.
And we know this. We know how many businesses fail within the first, third, and fifth year. And we know the reasons that failure pops up. So it usually has something to do with not understanding the financial side of things.
Boom.
It's not understanding marketing. Okay. It's not having sort of that legal side behind you to, you're doing something and it feels right, but it's legally right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's really that coaching or mentoring piece.
Right.
So that nobody in this area should ever feel like they are the first to ever do what they're doing or feel like they're out there alone. And a lot of business, they come in, they're like, I just didn't know. And so how do you make those connections so that at any point they can pick up the phone and say, who do I need to talk to? Am I doing this right? And really, that's what the chamber is all about. I tell our staff all the time, we want to be everybody's 1 degree of separation. So if you call the chamber, if we don't have the answer, we're going to connect you to somebody. And that's where the power of our membership, we're one of the top 6 largest chambers in the state of Indiana. So if anybody calls, there's somebody in our membership that we can connect them to. And the beauty of our members are they're willing to share. They're not holding on to a secret like
right.
I want to tell you.
Right.
They want to be supportive and understand the diversification of business in the area.
That's the key right there.
Absolutely. So.
Well, and I think that you hit that on the head, because a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses, they focus on trying to do everything. And
I was just going to touch on that.
Yeah, that they can't do, if they're focused on everything, they sometimes get to the point where they can't do anything.
And I was going to say, kind of iterate on that same thing, is a lot of small businesses, and I have suffered that with my own small business, is you're working so hard on making the income to support your small business that you don't alleviate time to learn that business side of it. And then in turn, it just all fails because.
Right. And that's why is the value of having resources, the right team. I know when you start up, it's a little bit harder because you don't have the financial resources to afford sometimes to pay extra people to do so. You kind of get stuck into that space where you're like trying to do it all.
Right.
And, and that's
letting go is a big, like letting other people help you get that done is a big part of.
And that's again, becomes very evident during COVID. It became, it screamed evident because one of the things that we ran into a lot with businesses where, the PPP loans were out there and they couldn't access them because they didn't have the record keeping that they needed.
Right.
Or they were running a business but hadn't registered with the state.
Right.
So
what do you mean? No one knows about that. Taxes? What?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like, okay, we can do this, but the state's now going to know you're there.
Now you're on the radar.
But it's how do you help in that? How do you help in that space? And so a couple of things that are out there, and nobody should be paying for somebody to help them do a business plan. There are two organizations out there that do a great job with that. The Indiana Small Business Development Center, which operates in our region, and SCORE is another. And then we just made the hire today. We have a part-time person that is just a business development person. So they will meet with entrepreneurs that are coming in.
Flesh out everything.
Yeah, so there's we're going to reduce the wait time to talk to someone to help guide you through some of those things and make those connections.
Because they were having to go through a third party before they came to you for that, right?
Well, they were going. So again, there's just so many entrepreneurs out there, and there's only so many people. So ISBDC and SCORE are they're buried right now.
Yeah, because everyone that's spiked. This is the entrepreneur economy happening right now. Everyone is starting their own
swim time.
Yeah. Well, to that note, there's one thing that I've experienced too is sometimes, depending on your vision or what you're trying to execute, you have to get the right help too. And people that have expertise in that space. There's some things that are evident that will never change, and that's finances. Yeah. You have to know your money, the legal side of it. You got to make sure, and that may be specialized depending on what you're in. Right. But really looking at how does it all come together. All the pieces of it come together for whatever your business idea. And I think that a lot of things that are underutilized is the marketing components because of everyone's in the work and no one sees it because you're not talking about yourself. And how do you transform that? So there's, through the chamber, there's opportunities to get involved in some of those events and some of the things that are available that I think that are we're guilty of that. We don't do it as much as we need to because we get stuck in the work. But that's part of our outreach is saying, hey, let's get deeper into the community because that's where the networking happens. That's when all the synergy starts to ignite. There's when you're working all the time, you don't get access to that, and if you're not seen, no one's talking about you.
But a lot of business owners don't understand the value of that.
Right?
They just think if I just work a lot, where's my product?
I'm just gonna work.
I'm just gonna get a bunch of product or whatever the case may be. It's all gonna fall into place. But marketing,
the people will come to me, but sometimes you have to go to them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and we were talking with Erica. You say, hey, have you talked to this person? You guys have two services that probably can connect to each other and enhance each other's offerings. Those type of things are those experiences you have in those type of events.
Yeah, and again, there's two things. One, there's an art form to networking, and a lot of times folks don't feel comfortable, so that you have to teach people how to network because it's not. Sometimes from a business standpoint, it's not a natural thing.
Right.
So you have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit to do the networking piece. The platforms
Guilty.
Guilty.
The platforms are there and understanding that everybody that's at any event, they understand networking is a part of it. So everybody's open to the networking. I think the other piece is as you are networking, the connection side of things. So one of the things I tell my staff is when you are out, I don't care who you're talking to, always be thinking about connections. Like it's always constantly, who do you need to connect that person to? Because that's the other strength of the chamber, is that ability to connect and convene people together. So when we do our new member orientation and I go around and have everybody introduce themselves, what I try to do before I leave the room, from what I heard, is saying, make sure you talk to this person before you leave, because this is the connection I heard. And so nobody should leave the room without being connected to somebody else in the room. And once you guys start talking, they're going to start connecting you to other people.
Right. Trickle down effect.
It's the word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. This, who you know.
Would you say that COVID has impacted the way that we market nowadays? Or the need for marketing?
COVID. I know this pause on a podcast.
No. This is natural. This is normal.
No, that means you're thinking. That means you're thinking about it.
When you want to sing to fill in the space where I'm in a pause. So I would tell you, I don't think we've even scratched the surface of the impact that COVID has had long term on business and marketing. I think we're still in that, like you talked about, the number. We're in that entrepreneur space right now. People had a lot of time to think about, and I always wanted to do this. Well, let me look and see what it takes to get it done. From business support organizations, we started thinking differently about how do we support businesses. So just as an example, in July, we're going to kick off our business suite where we're going to start with 10 businesses, but we're going to help them with vouchers for marketing, legal fees, financials, and
that's awesome.
And coaching, business coaching. And so we're going to, like you said, sometimes the cost gets in the way of that. Well, we're going to take that cost away.
So they can focus on the mission.
They can focus on
the mission.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome, because that is very intimidating for a business owner, especially just starting out.
Yeah.
It's a huge cost and a huge worry.
And I've always gone by the philosophy is until you lost everything, until you're free to do anything. So some people, COVID did that. It's like, hey, I have nothing left. I have nothing to lose.
Right.
So people kind of transition into that. How do I get involved? How do I get started? And then that's excellent. What you guys are doing is you're connecting the dots with those services. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So if, kind of wrapping this up, just looking at just moving forward, if a business or entrepreneur or someone really wants to get started and get connected with the chamber, what would be their first steps?
Call, stop in, email.
Carrier pigeon.
Whatever it takes. And this is, when I first got to the chamber, I've been there 5.5 years. And one of the things that we've evolved to is our job is to support the business community. Now, those folks that are members, what they are doing, there's some advantages of being a member. There's a lot of advantages of being a member. But our job is to support the business community. So I don't care who walks in the front door. At no point should we ever ask the question, are you a member of the chamber, to be able to help them.
Right.
Those folks that are members of the chamber are members because they're supporting our mission to support the business community in this area. And then it's our job, as we are interacting with anybody that walks through the door, to show our value, and then potentially they'll become a chamber.
See, that's a great point that you just mentioned. You mentioned that because you just stated that you don't have to be a member in order to receive the help from the chamber. You're there for the community, right? For entrepreneurs, small businesses, large businesses, whoever wants to get plugged in to so I think that may be. And
don't get me wrong, there's some things. I mean, clearly, again,
you get access to certain things that require membership too.
Nobody at the staff is not going to not talk to you because you're a member. There are events and things that we do
that are member only.
Members.
Yes. Yes.
So that I want to make sure people understand, because again, the services for ISBD and SCORE that work out of our offices, they're not asking you if you remember the chamber. That's where their office is, and they do the work. I'm not asking that question because I want your business to be successful. If your business is successful and you're here, that helps the business community as a whole. And if your business is successful and it's helping the community as a whole, it's helping our business members as well. So it's an investment in the mission.
Now, is there a big percentage of companies that don't end up becoming members and still use a lot of the services? Because I would just think, I mean, if you're going to help me out like that, I mean...
Yeah, I mean...
it's the least I could...
Well, he mentioned the value. I mean? There's value.
Again, it's our job to show the value.
Yes.
Right.
And, our goal is... And there's a capacity piece. It's, we have to look internally as well. When I say we're one of the 6 largest chambers in the state of Indiana, 900 plus businesses that we work with. I got a staff of 8.
Right. That's a lot of work.
Jeez. Paying some overtime, huh?
He says,
wow.
At what point are you at capacity where you're able to interact and provide what each business needs? And I go back and forth with a lot of chambers from around the country on, there's a philosophy of, as chambers, this is what we do, and our businesses have to fit into what we do. I didn't grow up in the chamber world. I operate on the premise of what is it that you need. And then we're either going to be able to help you with that, or we're going to connect you to what you need.
Can we provide?
Because every business is different. Every business is doing something different. And their needs, like there's some things that are similar, but their needs are individual. So you can't treat every business like it's every other business.
Yeah, there's no template.
Unless there was 100 shoe shops that opened up.
Yeah, that's still the
might
same
have
shoes.
some of the same things to offer, but
let's use that as an example, though. Even if you have you have 100 shoe shops, for whatever reason, and they may all sell the same thing, but for whatever reason, they're going to have different level of success. They're going to have a different customer base,
different game plan,
because
different places,
because they're different people, different cultures, different, and that changes. I mean, that was
different target audience, different.
Right. So that's why, one of our missions is to work together, grow together. We look at that as inside out. So as we look at our people inside, we're working together to go to a common goal, but then we go outside the walls. So anything we do outside has to fit within that model. And, we have to be working with people, even our clients, everyone, the community, whomever, we have to do it together because it's not possible without doing it. So I think a lot of those characteristics in a business, that they need to have to look at as being servants to their customers, their audience, whoever they're serving. That's where the success comes from. That's great what the chambers doing. They have the servant's heart, right? Yeah. It's baked in.
It's all about community.
Right.
It's all about community. And that's where you start seeing the progress.
Right.
Yeah.
I have one other question.
Yes.
What inspired you to be the CEO, president of the chamber?
So my background is in education. I was 25 years plus working for Elkhart Community Schools. I tell people I did everything except for CFO and superintendent. And my last role there, I had a superintendent that came to me. I had always said when I was done working with, I wasn't working with kids on a daily basis, I was probably going to get out of education. And I had stepped down as head football coach and was not spending any time with kids. And so the superintendent knew that. And he said, okay, what's your dream job? And I said, my dream job is there's a space where business and community building and not-for-profits and education all intersect. And I said, I want to be in that intersection. And he said, give me 2 weeks and then come back to me. So I came back in 2 weeks. He says, you're going to be our new supervisor of corporate community partnerships. Great.
Okay.
I said, can I see the job description? He says, absolutely, as soon as you write it.
How did that make you feel?
There it is. Yeah.
But the work essentially was working with businesses and not-for-profits in their interaction with the school system. And that took on somewhat of a relationship role. It was a little bit of a marketing role because you're marketing the schools. It was a development role because it was overseeing some of the giving that was coming to the schools. And from that, I was approached about the chamber position being open. I've got a personal philosophy that I always listen to everything, and became a really great feel and fit, and felt like the purpose of the chamber to have impact. And I've changed jobs, even within the schools corporation, was always for how do you have greater impact, and impact on this community that I absolutely love. And when I say community, I talk Elkhart County. And this provided me an opportunity to do that, to continue to have an impact, to have my hands in all four of those buckets that we talked about, and have influence. But I will tell you, my vow is whenever I retire, I'm done working, my last year will be back in the classroom.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, that's
back in education.
Just to kind of
just 1 year. That's my
just to kind of bring it full circle.
So is it now? Would that be in for K-12 or adults? What side?
Preferably K-12 and preferably middle school.
So do you miss it then?
I miss the relationships with students.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch education. Do I miss everything that's happening in
I was
education?
gonna say how many years? I was gonna say how many years has it been since you were with kids?
Yeah.
Do you know what these kids are like these
I do know what
days?
they're like. This is the deal. So if you've ever made an appointment with me, if you're listening, if you've ever made an appointment with me and I've canceled or postponed, my assistant is told anytime I'm getting a chance to interact with students, you clear my schedule to go do that.
Yeah.
Aw.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's special.
impact.
Yeah.
Because that's the future.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great learning about the chamber, and we really look forward to what's next.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Glad to be here, and look forward to seeing you all at events.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be there.
All right.
He put us on the spot. We'd love to see you. Every event, he's gonna look around. Where's Art at? Where's Art? Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're at ViviScape. We appreciate you and thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Take care.